Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Former President William McKinley said these words in regards to our Bible. The more profoundly we study this wonderful book, and the more closely we observe its divine precepts, the better citizens we will become, and the higher will be the destiny of our nation. Amen. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning on a Tuesday. Thank you very much, Kate Smith, and God bless America. Welcome to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, too, like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. Let's go to the phone lines and see if we have a Pledge of Allegiance person waiting to go. Good morning.
Good morning, young man.
How are you, Rotten?
I'm rottener than rotten this morning.
Okay. Give us the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God
bless you, Dal. I appreciate it. Say hello to your lovely bride and call us again. Thank you so much.
We'll do it.
All right, sir. Thank you. Those are really nice people right there. My goodness sakes, it's time for the weather, and it's brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. You better believe it. You know, they've got everything over there. All your carpeting and flooring, and, of course, all your kitchen construction needs. Boy, nothing better than to treat the little wife with a brand new kitchen. Oh, she loved that. All the home decor items, whatever you need to make your house a home. Don't forget, Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, 678-6945. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like we're going to see some sunshine this afternoon, which will be nice, slightly breezy as well. Winds out of the northeast, right around 10 miles an hour. Expect a high of 34 for today. Tonight, low of 23. Tomorrow, afternoon rain showers are a possibility. High of 38 with an overnight low of 29. Mostly cloudy for Thursday with a high of 34. That's going to carry over for Friday as well, high of 35. And then for Saturday, as we get into the weekend, rain and snow showers are possible with highs in the low to mid-30s. Yesterday's high was 31 and the overnight low was 15. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
There you go, Gina. Thank you. And she does a great job. Appreciate that. Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door, and they can do whatever you need to make your house a home. Hey, don't forget, on Thursday, of course, big sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. And the number to call for consignment information or sale information in general, 678-9411. Merv May, Kay Droggy, Lance Udy, the whole crew working for you at Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Thursday is sale day. Don't you forget it. By the way, here's something else not to forget, and the Coleman family lost their home a couple of days ago last week, and over in the Hazleton area. Well, the American Legion Post 82 and American Legion Auxiliary Unit 82 in Eden, they're hosting a spaghetti dinner fundraiser, and that's going to be for the Colemans, and it's going to be on January 23rd from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Snug Bar and Grill in Eden, and the cost is $10 a person. 100% of the proceeds goes to the Colemans, and then there's also going to be a silent auction and live music starting at 7 p.m. on that 23rd. So there you go, our best wishes to them. Don't forget, too, our friends at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Now, I stopped by yesterday and my lovely bride dropped off a whole bag full of clothes at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Kevin and Cindy, they always take care of our clothes with TLC, Tender Love and Care. They are absolutely the best at what they do, bar none. Stop in and see them today. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Also, our thank yous go out to SafeLink Internet, 677-8000. Remember that number. Now, you get your first month free, plus free installation, no contract options, no credit checks, unlimited data. And SafeLink Internet, Idaho's #1 choice for wireless internet, 18 years and counting. Yeah, 18, who's counting? SafeLink Internet, 677-8000. You get a hold of them today. Quick note that last night was the NCAA Collegiate Football Championship, and doggone it, I was hoping Clemson would win that game. Alabama came back and defeated Clemson 45-40, and they are the national college champions. I got a news story that you're not going to believe this morning. More on the wussification of America. And I'm condemning my former home state of Wisconsin of being the wussy capital of the United States. I'm going to tell you why in just a moment, and then I want you to call me and let me know your thoughts on this. To me, it's just absolutely insane. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, and they throw open the doors at 7:30 in the morning till 5 Monday through Friday. And the number to call, maybe they can get your order right there on the counter waiting for you, 678-0459. They've got all your heating and electrical needs and your furnace filters. We're not out of the woods yet in winter. Make sure that furnace is operating efficiently at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. And I've got to say this. The other day, we ran into Thomas from Denny's restaurant and sat down, and I had my always, any time of the day breakfast. I love breakfast, my favorite meal. And had a nice visit with him, and we talked about that Christmas party we had over there. It was just really a nice little visit. Denny's restaurant, and next couple of weeks, let's see, it's next week. Holy buckets, on the 21st, it's Lunch Bunch at Denny's at 611 Overland in Burley. And what a menu. Wow, what a menu. They've got great choices, great food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley and 291 Poline Road in Twin Falls. It is delicious. You're not going to believe this story, and I really want you to comment on this. Now in Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association has banned students from chanting certain words and phrases at basketball games. Now, listen to this, because it's nothing bad. There is no swearing. There is nothing bad at all about what they want to ban. You cannot say air ball anymore at the game. You get thrown out. I'm not kidding. Here are some other phrases that if school and high school sports authorities hear you chant in the audience, you will be escorted to the door. We can't hear you. Oh boy, that's worthy of getting kicked out of the game. There's a net there. And you can't yell scoreboard. And if it's in the tournaments and the team loses, you can't say season's over. You're going to get thrown out of the gym. Now, this is absolutely ridiculous. It's more of a mamby-pamby wussification of America. And you know what they ought to do? And I'll advocate this, and hopefully if somebody's offended, they'll call in and chew on me, but I'd love to go nose to nose with you. You know, what they ought to do is absolutely form groups and chant every one of these phrases during the game. And pretty soon the whole gym would be empty. This is ridiculous. Next thing they will do, and they're headed that way, is to take down the scoreboards. And you just run around the gymnasium for nothing. And you can blame the liberal parents, you can blame the wussification, the so-called school leaders. They should be banned from the gym. My goodness, can't we do or say anything in this society anymore? It's part of our downfall. It's part of our wussification of America. Holy cow. You stand and say, season's over, or there's a net there, or air ball, and you get thrown out of the gym. You got to call me on this. Please, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Pardon the cough. I just can't imagine. What's next? You know, really, what is next? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zed. You know, I graduated from high school in 1955. And for those listeners that went to school at Burley High School will remember this. But we had a principal, and his name was Earl Carlson. And when there was a game being played in the Burley gym, if you booed the team that's visiting, he threw you out. Just physically took you by the collar and threw you out.
Yeah, but was that right?
Didn't have any of that.
Was that right? Let's get to the bottom line. Was that right of him to do that? You know, I am so sick and tired of our freedom of expression being thrown out. Now, if there was cursing or if there was something really derogatory said or something of a racial content, fine. I can see stymieing and stopping that. But when somebody misses the basket entirely and the crowd yells air ball, you're going to throw the whole crowd out of the gym? Come on.
Well, he didn't do that. He just picked out the bad ones.
Oh, I tell you.
I think he was totally within his rights, and it showed respect for the visiting team.
Okay, fine, I'll buy that. When the booing. But are you telling me that I should be thrown out of the gym if somebody says air ball or says to the rest of the crowd after a great play, we can't hear you? You know, what's the matter with that?
No, nothing.
All right.
Nothing. You're not belittling anybody, but when you just plain boo them, you know, and that's a big word and it covers a lot of territory. He just was not going to allow that in his house.
Well, you know, I'm just...
It worked for him, and he was a doggone good principal.
I'm not knocking him or saying anything negative about what he did or what he thought he should do, but I'm thinking this is just another niche in the wussification of America. Keith, I got another call waiting. God bless you, man. Thank you very, very much. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Jen. I'm amazed they didn't make the word brick illegal, too.
You know, I never thought of that one. That's probably one that they'll add to the list.
Yep, or nope.
Yeah, what do you...
Craziness, you know, that's getting right in there with violating our constitutional First Amendment.
Yeah, you know, the way it's going, honestly, and I can see this in the state of Wisconsin and spreading like a cancer to other states. You buy a ticket, you go in the gym, they give you a piece of duct tape, and you have to put it over your mouth. Oh, gee, let's have fun at the game.
Yeah, well, pretty soon they'll do it like they did in Canada with the hockey teams. You know, the dissatisfied fans would throw octopuses out on the floor.
Yeah.
After the ice rink.
No.
I mean, what are we going to do now? Throw pancakes or something?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just really upset about this. God bless you, man. Thanks for your call. Appreciate it.
Have a good day, Dad.
Little by little, and then these absolutely mindless parents that think they should not have any scores, and the scoreboards should be taken down, and everybody gets a ribbon, and everybody's the same. I love that car commercial on TV where the dad's walking back to the car, and the son shows him his trophy, and it says participant on there, and the dad rips off the participant part of the trophy, throws it away, and writes champs, because his kids, his boy and his team, they were unbeaten, and they deserved to have the terminology champions. You know, what happened to us wanting to strive for first place? What happened to people trying to do their best and play their best? And now you can't say certain things at a gym or you'll be thrown out like airball? And the season's over? Are you kidding me? Oh, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is insanity. This whole country needs to have a real good slap on the behind. Wake up, get up, and start acting like you really care. Burley Physical Therapy and I love it when I make a mistake. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Really, if you put the H's and the B's and the L's all in the right place, the word comes out pretty good. Rehabilitation. I'll be a son of a gun. 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And the number to call, 678-1191. Helping you get better and get back to being you. I was in there yesterday. I told you I was going, and I'm going to start a comprehensive 2 times a week schedule trying to get to feel better with all their physical therapists. They're serving with the best of exercises, sports medicine, and the hydrotherapy pool. Yeah, buddy. You better call for an appointment today at 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Easy when you say it right. And they're located in Burley, 678-1191. Call today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb, we worry about the younger generation, but I think that lessons can be learned swiftly. And but the popularity of state football, whether or not it was last night or the playoffs or the bowl games, there's people, watching this stuff, an unbelievable amount of people. The popularity is unbelievable. And there's all kinds of swaths of people that watch this. And if they're young people, they see that they know that these people, these athletes are giving every bit they have to this game. And it does have to seep into them that they know that in order to make it in this country, that there has to be hard work, and the example is sports.
Yeah, but Randy, what we're seeing, and let's take sports, for instance. There's a lot of people that have criticized me and say, sports is too important in our society. Well, maybe it is, but here's the caveat. I honestly think that what I learned from playing sports was leadership qualities. I learned to persevere through the tough times. I learned if I got beat, I'd better try harder the next time. There are so many lessons in life that we learn through sports. And if we're going to wussify this thing to the point where we all, as guys, ought to be wearing dresses, let's quit.
Well, just think about it. Like if you watch the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game, they thought they had that thing won, and then the irresponsible behavior by Perfect, it just backfired in the last minute.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we know what happened with the Vikings and he missing that chip shot. See, this is the thing. You never know. And that's the way life is. and you've got to seize on the opportunity as best as you can.
Yeah, but Randy,
and be grateful. Go ahead.
You know, here's the thing, though, that's been taking out of our lives. It's not just the sports world. It's the business world. It's the political world. It's any portions of our world. That success right now and trying hard and trying to make something out of yourself is looked down upon because the left, the liberals, the absolute NRBs, and when I say NRB, it always refers to not real brights in our society, are trying to make us all the same. They're trying to make us like sheep, and they've taken away the incentive of this life.
Well, yeah, they have to a point, but I think that, America is still America, and even spoiled, rotten young people should learn quickly in a crisis, I believe, And so, I don't know, again, the only people that really understand America is Americans, and the rest of them just think they understand. But, I think that in our core we're still expect a lot, which is what makes us great. We expect a lot from ourselves and our country.
Well, yeah, but think about this, though. That's all the more reason that we should protect our culture instead of being chipped away at and divided up with all the weirdos that are coming in trying to change things.
Oh, yeah, there's no question that... Well, that's my point, that even people that are just unbelievably spoiled, rotten, and careless, they still expect a lot from America and what America gives them. And when we start to take it away from them, I think that it will be a turning point, and they will be awakened.
I agree. Randy, I got to run and do a commercial. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. How things have changed in this country in my lifetime. Holy cow. If today, honestly, and I mean this when I say this, if today's concepts of competition were backed up 50 years ago when I was in high school and college, these people would be lost. They'd have to quit. They couldn't stand the pressure. They couldn't stand the pressure. If we backed up today, back 50 years ago. None of the people today in sports and athletics, and I mean this when I say this, could have played for and existed under the likes of Vince Lombardi or George Halas. None. Because we are a bunch of weak mamby-pambies today. Call me. Don't forget Berry Equipment and Rental. Oh, my goodness. 3 locations to serve you. Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. And at all the locations, they're getting ready to cycle out quite a few of the rental fleet. And that's a lot of their Coyote tractors they're going to be selling off, and a lot of the used Bobcat equipment. Oh, can you save money? And great financing options available. So you stop in and see them today. They have all the equipment to get the job done right. Berry Equipment and Rental, Twin Falls, Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Really, really good people. By the way, I hope you're hearing everything, and that means that if you're not, you better contact Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and the number to call, 312-0957, located right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room with Dr. Christine Pickup. And if you are noticing some hearing loss, better check it out. Get a hearing screening today. You call 312-0957 and make an appointment. Like I said, they're kind of fun. And be sure and give them a call at 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, serving you. Your turn. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to just elaborate a little bit on that point I made a minute ago. And it's not just the sports point. When I mentioned the great Vince Lombardi, I've read every book, I've read everything about the man. I met the man. That's not brag, that's a fact. And when the players in Green Bay played for him, they hated him because he absolutely made strides for perfection in everything they did. But when they left pro football, every single Green Bay Packer from the championship teams that Lombardi coached, you can look this up, with the exception of one player, Lionel Aldridge, went on to be highly successful and respected businessmen and leaders in their community. Lionel had some mental problems. Lionel had a kind of a down-and-out life until a couple of the Green Bay Packers, like Willie Davis, grabbed him up, gathered him up, and helped him get up in the world successfully. And to a man, and Jerry Kramer, outstanding all-pro guard that played for those championship seasons, that lives here in the state of Idaho, has been on my program in the past. He reiterates every time he's been on this program that Vince Lombardi taught people how to be men. And he taught them how to be successful and attain their goals. And that went after the football field into life. And I maintain today that for all you liberals out there and you wussies, you couldn't take it. You're not man and or woman enough today to go under the scrutiny and the microscope of somebody that's going to try to get the very best out of you. Not only for athletics, but also for the rest of your life. I remember a story not too long ago, might have been last spring, I think, about how certain colleges were not going to let some people do any speeches or anything at some of the colleges about you can succeed if you try in America. They were going to try to eliminate that because everybody's the same. They're all a bunch of sheep. They're all a bunch of millennials. Oh, that's a bunch of hogwash. You can succeed if you try and you really put forth your best effort. And I don't care in what it is. I mentioned Vince Lombardi, and I'll also mention George Halas and many of the old school coaches that knew the value of what they did on the football field would carry them over in life. Look at John Wooden, coach of UCLA, and all the championships that he had. Look at all the players that played for him that went on afterwards and applied those principles from the basketball court into their everyday lives, and they were highly, highly, highly successful. We've lost that in this country. We have turned into a bunch of wusses. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again. I want to apologize for going against your will, but my point was respect for the other team and everything. But this idea of everybody is a winner is going to be the losing thing in our country. Because politicians, if they did not have to strive to be a winner, they would never get elected, right?
Well, Keith, wait a minute. I'm going to correct you, and I don't mean to sound harsh when I say this, but I'm going to correct you on something you said. Not everybody's a winner with the liberal wussy attitude, because they treat everybody like they don't have to achieve anything to be a winner. And how can you use the word or the terminology winner when you didn't try to achieve success?
Okay, let's take, for instance, Ronald Reagan. Look at what he did from the time he became a movie star and all the way through his career. And, you know, I heard one commentator say when he went in the White House or into the Oval Office and the air conditioner wasn't working, Mr. President, why don't you take off your jackets? And he said, no, I have too much respect for this office. Now, that is respect and everything to the highest degree.
Oh, I agree with that, and that's not really what we're talking about, though, Keith. We're talking about the wussification of America and people in higher aspects of education and in employment and in politics telling everybody, oh, you're all the same. You don't have to work. We'll make sure we give it to you. You'll be provided for. We're losing the goals that God gave us all the assets. He gave us all the tools, and He gave us all different personalities. So if we'll just use the assets that God gave us, we can succeed. We can be successful. We can be our best, but not under these liberal, stupid people that are trying to hold everybody under their thumb.
Agreed 100%. You know, you do your best, you put forth your best, and chances are you will succeed.
That's right. That's right. And if you don't, then doggone it. Go ahead.
A good example of that is Zeb Bell.
Oh, I don't want to get myself into this.
Setbacks in your life with health issues and everything else, but you said, I'm going to be a winner. And here you are, in the Hall of Fame.
I appreciate that very much.
The winner, I don't know what is.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't want to turn this into a me situation at all, but God bless you, Keith, and say hello to that lovely lady, Nancy. I appreciate it.
Myself.
Thanks a lot, Keith. Thank you very much. Thank you. No, I'm not turning this into a me at all. I don't want to. It's anybody that wants to try. I've talked to many groups, many youth groups, many Kiwanis, many optimists, etc. You've got to get out there in the short time that God gave us on this earth. Some may only get a couple of years. Others might live to 40. Others might live to 60. Others might live to 80. But with the short time that we have on this planet of earth, before we're taken to our heavenly home, why not use every single asset that God gave us to make the best out of our lives, and thus in turn make the best for our families' lives, our community, our country? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb Bell.
Yes, sir.
How are you today?
I'm great. Go ahead.
Well, on this succeeding thing we've got going, I'm 77 years old, and when I retired at 62, I had never missed a month that I hadn't paid into my Social Security.
Okay. All right.
And I think I've got an 8th grade education, and I think I've done very well for my family and my life with what I had.
Absolutely. May I ask? I'm not going to ask your name or anything, but what did you do for a living for all those years?
I was a mechanic. I worked for Amalgamated Sugar.
Okay, but you went to work every day. You went to work every day. You went to work every day. You didn't slough off. You went to work knowing that you were going to be paid a fair wage for the amount of work that you did. You tried to elevate your work level every day so that maybe there would be promotions, etc., didn't you?
Exactly. Right.
And we've taken
I started working hard right alongside of my dad when I was 8 years old.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And thus I stand behind what I said, that if our generation, your generation, my generation, if these wusses today could go back 50 years, they couldn't take the heat.
That's a fact. Absolutely. And I see it every day.
Well, I want to say how much I appreciate your call. God bless you, and I hope you have another 77 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and God bless you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Very nice of you. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Redder Showcase at 2611 Overland in Burley. Did you hear what's going on over there with Guy and the crew? You better stop in today. Tell them Old Zebra sent you. Winter clearance going on at Redder Showcase, and you can take advantage of the one-of-a-kind and the floor models, the overstocked, and the scratch and dents. Oh, my. Huge discounts on Whirlpool, Amana, Maytag, and KitchenAid. Oh, my goodness, and they got savings in the bedding department, too. Oh, you don't want to miss this at all. It's going on now at Redder Showcase, 2611 Overland Avenue. 12 months, same as cash on approved credit. And these are good people with a lot of choices at Redder Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley. I know that here's what's going to happen. You can bet on it. I will get emails and I will get phone calls on my cell phone at 312-2976 from the liberals in the audience that are going to go, how dare you say that we couldn't take it. No, you can't take it. You couldn't take a team today of young people and put them through regimentation and rules and regulations like there were 40, 50 years ago. Won't happen. It's even changed in the military, and I've had a lot of military people on my program tell me that. That's not me talking, that's them. We have lost incentive to be our best. Prove me wrong. Look at this president. If that's not the wussification of America personified, I don't know what is. And then you hear stories, and we laugh, and we kind of tee-hee a little bit. Oh, that's funny. About what's going on with banning certain phrases like airball, scoreboard, there's a net there, you can't do that. My goodness. We are absolutely wussifying anything and everything with our society so that we don't do our best. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning again, Zeb. When I went through military basic training of the two services that I am a veteran of, these young people today, I would have to say that a lot of them wouldn't make it through the first time if it was still at the same difficulty level.
I agree with you.
I went through my first service and I became a reconnaissance specialist, snake in the grass, if you know what I mean. And then I got out of that and I went into the U.S. Coast Guard. And I was at a small boat station. And we went out on some rescue missions that would just curl your hair white. I'm not kidding. We have 40-foot waves, 60-mile-an-hour winds, driving rain, cold, and we're going out to rescue stupid people.
Yeah.
So,
but you know,
I understand what you're saying about these people. Even when I went through the boot camp for the Coast Guard in 1985, there was kids there that, they were 18, 19 years old, and here I was 28 years old at the time, and they couldn't cut it. And here I am, the old man of the group, and I'm just humping right along.
Well, see, this is my point. This is my point that you're making, and a lot of callers have made for me this morning. I'll go back and say this again, and it sounds redundant, but we only have so much time on this earth that God has given us a wonderful, beautiful life to go out and use the assets and abilities that He's given us. Every single person born has certain assets and abilities, and if we don't use them, it's almost a mockery against our Maker, and if we don't try to succeed and be the best with those, it's absolutely a sin. We're not putting forth our best effort.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of this I lay on the parents of today, because the parents of today weren't made men and women in the first place, so they don't make their children into men or women.
I agree.
Like like our generation did.
I agree. I've got to do a weather forecast, my good friend. I'm running late as usual, but thank you for calling back. I appreciate that.
You bet.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
No, I could get on that subject, and I've talked about it many, many times at high schools and colleges and business meetings and everything else. What is there for incentive to enjoy life if you don't try to do your best? I don't care if it's a little stinky game of checkers. I'm going to fight to win. And if I lose, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to say to myself, how could I have done that better so that I could have won? I just am not a kind of a person that's going to accept defeat. And I think it's helped me a lot to keep on trying. But in this society, under the current mode of leadership, mediocre is accepted. That's a crime. Mad River Laser brings you the weather this hour at 502 East Street in Rupert, and they have everything for your business promotion. I have used them on all kinds of different items. They are the best. I don't care if it's jackets or sweaters or caps or if it's writing instruments, the pens, the markers, etc., or the calendars that you need. Anything and everything for your business promotion, they are the best. That's not brag. That's a fact. Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. You stop over and see them today. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like we're going to see some sunshine this afternoon, which will be nice, slightly breezy as well. Winds out of the northeast, right around 10 miles an hour. Expect a high of 34 for today. Tonight, low of 23. Tomorrow, afternoon rain showers are a possibility. High of 38 with an overnight low of 29. Mostly cloudy for Thursday with a high of 34. That's going to carry over for Friday as well, high of 35. And then for Saturday, as we get into the weekend, rain and snow showers are possible with highs in the low to mid-30s. Yesterday's high was 31 and the overnight low was 15. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, Gina. Mad River Laser sponsoring our weather this hour, 502 East Street in Rupert. Calls are welcome and appreciated. Honestly, I'd like somebody out there with a dissenting opinion about wussification of America. Maybe you believe that wussification is okay. Call me and let me hear your thoughts. I can't wait to hear that. It's kind of like what we're talking about this morning happened last night, okay? With Rand Paul. I'm not kidding you. Rand Paul's numbers were not high enough to propel him into the top tier of GOP debaters for this week. No, he had to drop out, and he's down in the second tier. They had the rules set up. That's the way it is. So what does Rand Paul do? He says, no, I'm better than that. No. I'm not going to go along with the rules that everybody was going by. I'm going to drop out. I'm not going to be a part of that second tier debate. I'm better than they are. What does that teach our kids? I'm better. Yeah. Even though they had rules and regulations, now that they put me in the second tier, I'm just not going to be there. I'm going to take my ball and go home. Well, good. Don't let the door hit you in the posterior on the way out. Rand Paul has decided that because he wasn't going to be in the top tier on Thursday night, he's going to take his football and go home. Well, hit the trail, Jack. Because I tell you what's going to happen if he doesn't show up for that second-tier debate on Thursday night. The American public, I think, still in majority, can see right and wrong and can see somebody that's phony. And if he doesn't show up, he has proven to them that he's not worthy to be there at either of the debates. He's a spoiled little brat. Take your football and go home, Rand. You're not going to play with the big boys ever again. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm going to be talking to Hillary. I'm going to be talking to Frosty Woldridge in a little bit. Now the left-wing dim Democrats are starting a phrase called, listen to this now, economic refugees. And that encompasses everybody. They are no longer going to allow, they said the word allow, they're not going to allow the use of illegal alien anymore because everybody coming to this country is an economic refugee. It doesn't make any difference if you're crossing the border at night illegally. You are now an economic refugee. If you're coming in here by the plane load and we have to take the money to support you, you are an economic refugee. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb?
Yes, sir.
So, on the same subject, like you're talking about, yesterday I sat on the Soil and Water Conservation District in the public lands for years, and I get a publication from the Forest Service. And I got fussing through that yesterday, and there's an abbreviation CE, and then under CE is used in terminology quite a bit there in all of their work. And then I got looking at, we got one here, Meadow Creek Cattle Horse Allotment Assessment. And that has to go through an EA, an environmental assessment. The CE, everything under CE, and CE means categorical exclusion.
Mm-hmm.
So those projects that the Forest Service says there's no accountability for them.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about today, if we don't have accountability to somebody or even to ourselves, we have nothing.
That's exactly what our society's going to, Earl. It's going to a nothingness, a meaninglessness. It's going to a non-achievement attitude. It's a non-success. It's a non-reach for the stars. It's a not try to do your best. It's if your business fails, oh gee, go to the government. They'll support you. That's the whole problem with our wussification of America.
Absolutely, and it's been going that way a while. And we got this Bundy thing going on over in Oregon, which I can't totally agree with it, but I can see what has pushed those people maybe past their limits there.
Well, you know, there's certain I hate to
foundation.
Yeah.
And then you've got this other stuff on the other side going on, and you got two different sides.
Well, I got to interrupt you, Earl, because I got to get a commercial in here, but I want to say this. I have never advocated breaking the law, but I sure as heck have advocated standing up and trying to get the law changed in what the majority believes in this country. And I think there's some potholes on both sides of the issue up in Oregon. I'd like to get into it further with you, but I got to get a spot on and wrap up this hour. But God bless you, man. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Myself included, Seb.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And we have in the forecast more snow. Well, it's winter time. Gee, the Al Gores of the world, they can't understand that. Anyway, be sure you're traction ready with all the different tread designs and, of course, the studded tires, everything to get you through the snow, the yuck, and the mud, and the ice. The snow, the yuck, and the ice. There you go. I did it myself. Anyway, they've got all the performance tires for you. They got the best in brake service. They've got the best in front end alignment, shocks, and struts. And, of course, the best in batteries at all 7 locations. And they are Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Yep, get through. I'm going to try it again. The snow, the yuck, and the ice with the best of tires from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. There I go. I got on a soapbox this morning, and I don't apologize for it because I wanted to talk about that, but I didn't get a chance to talk about various things like tonight, the Obama State of the Union address. Pardon me while I yawn. Excuse me. But I'm very, very concerned about this speech because I think he's going to really go in depth on gun control, refugee resettlement, the Trans-Pacific Trade Pact, which I hate, the immigration in this country, and also one little thing that was in there that a lot of people have overlooked. He said, quote, a change in the electoral process. I'm going to be listening for that tonight. You've been listening to Zeb at the Ranch. Make sure you're hearing everything. Contact Mount Harrison Audiology for a hearing screening. Call them at 312-0957. And we're going to take a little break. Send it over to Wheels right now at our main studios. He's like a vulture with his finger above the key right now to hit the CBS News. I'll be back in about 6 minutes. Oh my, here we go. Hour number 2. And thank you very much. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations here in the Valley, serving you with the best of tires, the best of front end alignments, the best of brake service, everything at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Locally owned and operated. All you have to do to get on the route service is call them at 734-6969. And the dumpsters in various sizes, clean out that attic, that basement, that garage. Holy buckets, and then they'll come and get it. You better believe it. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Thank you very much. I want to also say thank you. Thank you for just the attitude that they have in serving you and I and everyone in this area. Community events, etc. at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Joel Heward, his family, and his staff, they are always there to serve you. Joel always with a smile on his face, and the entire staff, everyone, always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity of serving your family when there's the passing of a loved one. Believe me, they believe that every life is worth remembering, and they pledge to serve you as that you would want to be served. Wonderful people at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636. Right now, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation this morning. A dear friend of mine on this program every Tuesday, and I don't take that lightly when I say it. He is a dear friend of mine. I know that in a time of need, he'd probably pedal his bike 750 miles to be at my front door if I needed help, and that's Frosty Woolridge. Good morning, Frost. How are you?
Well, good morning, Zeb. Always a pleasure, and thank you very much. And you know something, there isn't anything that I wouldn't do for you and Deanne, and certainly we are family, and we've developed such a family, and also we've really created tremendous discussion across America here in the last, I think, 10, 12 years now. So I'm excited to continue that in 2016, Zeb.
God bless you, my friend. Hey, listen, I'm going to get off topic here a little bit as to what I wanted to ask you about at the beginning of our question and answer period. And I'm just going to mention this to you and see if you agree with me. You know, from when you and I were in high school and college, I was talking about this last hour, and I am convinced it's getting bigger like a cancer all across this country. The wussification of America. Oh, let's not keep score. Everybody's a winner. Oh, you can't say certain things at a game. We'll throw you out of the gym. I mean, the wussification of America, and I made a statement last hour that if you or I would have had to play for Vince Lombardi or George Halas or anybody like that, it made better people out of the people that played for them back in the 50s and 60s, and that's gone today.
Well, you know, I have a quote that I think may be worthwhile. It's by Fred Reed, and it's a short one, but I think it's pretty much what's happening. He said, and I quote, "The United States has become a nation of weak, pampered, easily frightened, helpless milquetoasts who have never caught a fish, fired a gun, chopped a log, hitchhiked across the country, or been in a schoolyard fight. If their cat dies, they call a grief therapist. Everything frightens Americans," unquote.
Amen, brother. You know, and really, it's the truth, though. Think about it. If you took, and I said this last hour, and I'm going to stand behind it, and I'll fight with anybody on this verbally. If you took teams today and people from today's generation and put them back to play under the likes of Vince Lombardi or George Halas or anybody like that, they couldn't take it. Why, they'd have to quit. Their little feelings would be hurt.
That's about right. You know, I played under Duffy Daugherty at Michigan State University, and when you get on a football field, or you get on any field, basketball, football, baseball, soccer, swimming, it takes true grit. You've got to have, and you must have within you a true grit kind of gumption and guts and goal orientation and discipline to get out there and put your 10,000 hours in, put your 100,000 hours in. If you want to be a success, not only at the national and international level, but just be a success in your own life.
That's right.
And that means you pursue your dreams. That means, and for those of you who have gone to my Facebook page, Frosty Wooldridge, I also have a How to Live a Life of Adventure, The Art of Exploring the World Facebook page. And you'll find in that adventure Facebook page all of the kinds of inspiration that drive me. I share that drive with you. I share the enthusiasm, the great energy for living, because while I talk seriously with Zeb each week and across the nation and write these commentaries, I also really enjoy a profoundly spectacular life, and it's because I have that true grit. And I want to thank my mom and my dad for their, imparting their great true grit into me, and it's also in my brothers and it's in my sisters. So I'm proud of that, but I'm also thankful, and I'm willing to share that. And I think most people, when they hear me on the radio or even in person, they feel my energy and my expectation for greatness, whatever it is in my life, and certainly appreciation and greatness for all my friends and really all of America. That's what this is all about, and it's provided by this extraordinary constitutional republic. And I hope each person pursues his or her true grit in their own lives. And we're so fortunate to be able to do that here in the United States of America, Zeb.
You know what we ought to do? We ought to start a speaking tour, the Wooldridge and Bell speaking tour, or Bell and Wooldridge, whichever, and kind of a speaking tour of pursuance of your dreams. I am sick and tired of the wussification of America.
You know, we knock it out of the park, there's no question, because you and I have that same energy level and that true grit. And I've actually had people come up to me and say, where the heck did you get all that enthusiasm? And I just said, well, it's just because I carry it with me every day. I've been blessed with it, but I also have that true grit to move to each new exciting chapter of my life, and that's every day of my life.
Absolutely.
And you and I, we share that energy, and I've had people say, is there somehow I could bottle that energy of yours and then inject it into me? And I said, yeah. Get enthusiastic about your life.
There you go.
Get enthusiastic about your, this is, we're going off topic here, but I've noticed, and I wrote about it in my book, How to Live a Life of Adventure. You notice all these people in cubicles, and they're in New York, and they're in Denver, and they're Chicago, and Atlanta, and L.A., and they sit there all day typing away or doing whatever they're doing, and on their cubicle wall, they've pinned up a poster. And the poster shows them scuba diving or skiing or bicycling, all the things they'd rather be doing. And for heaven's sakes, go do what you love to do rather than sit there pining away with a poster of somebody else doing it. And if you look at my office, just like your fantastic office, you've got that museum, as you talked about in your last newsletter, of all these fantastic things but you keep adding to them. You keep adding those great pictures. Well, that's what I do. And in my book, I show the 5 concepts and 6 practices on how to go out there and just live a spectacular life, just like Zeb Bell and just like Frosty Woolridge and all of the other individuals out there, men and women, who are pursuing their dreams, their passions, and their true grit. And we'd knock it out of the park.
Why, the liberals would go...
Get off their duffs and get out there and live life.
The liberals would go insane. I mean, the liberal wussies would be standing there picketing us going, oh, no, they're trying to break away from the meek sheep mold. We've got to stop them. You know what? I would just absolutely enjoy sharing a podium with you and going through all the things that we can do if you try, and how people can just take what little time they have here on this earth and they can enjoy and kind of milk that cow for every drop of milk and enjoy it. And when you finally lay on your deathbed, you can kind of get a smile on your face and say, doggone it, I did it till the motor blew.
That's exactly right. Well, I have to say that I do go up. I just gave my How to Live a Life of Adventure presentation to my church, and I had probably 100 people there. And they want to have me for the whole church and have 1,500 people in the audience with my slideshow. But what I do in front of the audience, I go right up there and they say, well, Frosty Woolridge, he bicycled across America 11 times, he's bicycled across 6 continents, he's scuba dived in all the oceans of the world, and he's written all these, he's done all this stuff. And so then I get up in front and I said, well, after you've just heard that little biography, you can probably tell that I live a spectacular life. And then I said, I want all of you in this room to repeat after me the same thing I just said. And I said, okay, and repeat. I live a spectacular life. Well, so many of the people in the room, many of them may not be living a spectacular life. Some may live dull and boring lives. Some may be unexcited. Some may be depressed. Some may be all the other things that aren't working for them. And then I say, after this hour and after this slideshow, I'm going to ask you to repeat the same statement. And amazingly, I give the 5 concepts and 6 practices that have literally thrust me into a great and a spectacular life. And when I get done, and that first time when they repeat after me, I live a spectacular life, there's just all this kind of haunting that, I'm not so convinced. But when I get done with that show and that program in that room, because I've spoken in front of 2,000 people to a clip in the past, I mean to tell you, I say, okay, repeat after me. I live a spectacular life. I mean, people erupt because all of a sudden they've got the keys to the car, to the Ferrari of their lives, and they get to run that Ferrari until the motor blows, and that's the last day of your life, of course.
Yep.
And so I'm with you, Zeb. Honest to gosh, we could put a package together and go up in front of audiences, and I mean, turn the American people on to themselves and their individual opportunities and abilities to live spectacular lives. Boy, that would be fun to tell you.
I'm going to tell you something. We would have them so high in that auditorium, they'd have to be selling deodorant outside the door to keep people from sweating to death.
That's about right, because they'd get so high they'd feel like they're helium balloons bouncing off the ceiling. And that's how I live my life. I mean, you get to see my Christmas letters every year. Look at those pictures. Look at that shot of me kissing Sandy, and she was kissing me on the Valley of the Gods. And look at the two of us in front of that big steam locomotive on the Colorado Trail. And look at all those bicycle shots down the West Coast last year. I mean, absolutely. I am excited about living, and I absolutely cherish each day. I mean, especially at the age of 69, I cherish each day even more. And I'm gonna run the Ferrari motor till it blows, and then when it blows, I'm gonna have the biggest, the old grin on my face when I finally go meet my maker. And I'm so thankful for the opportunity to live this spectacular life. And in fact, I have a new book coming out here pretty soon. It's called Happiness: Living Your Life on Your Own Terms. And it'll be another book that shows people how to have a great and how to have a spectacular life, because I literally give them the keys as to what turns them on, what excites them, what gives them enthusiasm, and this means people who are introverts, extroverts, ambiverts, who live in the city or live in the country. I mean, it's so incredible because I lived in the country. So my parents have an 80-acre farm in Michigan. I lived there for several years. I got to be a Henry David Thoreau. I got to read books every week. I got to write books. I got to write articles. And anyone can do that. And I give up all those secrets in these books. So I invite everybody to live a spectacular life.
Boy, did we get off on a tangent here. We might as well keep down this railroad track. I'm telling you, what really got me turned off a couple of months ago was that I understand some of the colleges and universities around the country, like in California at some of the Cal State universities, they were actually telling the students that, oh, no, we don't want to make anybody better than anybody else. So, you can succeed if you try in America. We're not going to say that anymore. We're all the same. And they're actually preaching and teaching this to our kids that, you don't want to try to be better than somebody else. Good Lord Almighty, Frosty, that's absolutely the wrong thing to be telling kids. You should tell them to go reach for the universe, and if they don't get it, at least they'll grab a star.
And that's exactly right. The one thing that I appreciate, and it was Jonathan Livingston Seagull, the book by Richard Bach, which I read in 1970 when it came out, and he was rejected by 44 publishers, and then finally he was published, and now to this day in 2016 the book is still on the shelves on bookstores across America. And one of the things he talked about was the perfect speed. And he was talking to Cheyenne, and this was a seagull that was trying to fly not faster than the rest of the seagulls. He wanted to test his wings to fly as fast as he could fly.
Yeah.
And then he asked Cheyenne, he says, well, when am I going to reach heaven? And then, of course, Cheyenne, the older seagull, he said, well, heaven's not a place that you can go for speed. And in fact, heaven really is called the perfect speed. And he said, the perfect speed is not flying at the speed of light, and it's not flying or walking at the speed of a donkey, essentially, is what he said. He says the perfect speed, Jonathan, is being there. And that to me was the key. When I stand on the starting line of a triathlon or a ski race or a bicycle race or the Leadville 100, which I've done 4 times now, which completely is one of the most grueling races on the planet, I'm not competing against anybody. I'm doing the best I can for me, and when I cross that finish line, I don't get judged by anybody. The first place person, well, they got there first. The last place person, they got there last. The key is, I'm on the starting line, I'm not comparing myself to anybody, and I'm maximizing my energy and my being and my discipline and my physical and mental and spiritual being to do what it takes to get across that finish line or stand on the top of a 14,000-foot peak or swim in a swimming race, which I still do, because it's for me and my highest and best. And to me, that's the key in life, to go for your highest and best. And when you do, you're going to have the biggest, eating grin on your face, that you can possibly have, and that means you will be a happy person living a happy life.
I couldn't agree more, and I'll add something to that, and I've made this a mantra of mine for years, that when somebody comes up to you and says, well, you can't do that, or no one like you ever has done anything like that, or you never will be able to do that, you don't walk away from those people, you run away from those people, never to have contact with them again, because all they are is jealous human beings that want to live in the gutter the rest of their life, and they're trying to hold you down at their level. Get away from them and try to achieve.
That's exactly right. And the key here is achieve in your world what is important to you. We met because of my brother Howard riding his horse across America. I mean, and he didn't just ride his horse across America. He did it day by day, 20, 25 miles a day. He cared for the horse, Misty. He rode, he walked. He got across America. People sit there and they think, well, my gosh, it's just the most, how could you do something? It's so incredible. Well, you take it day by day, and you have that ember, that burning energy within you, that quest, and you create that quest, and then all of a sudden you just do what you do, and all of a sudden you're standing on the Pacific Ocean and you finish the horseback ride across America. Well, I do the same thing on a bicycle. 11 times across this great nation of ours have I traveled on a bicycle. I have gone through tremendous physical courage and rain and cold and hail and sleet, and yet I took it a day at a time, and I did it for me and for what I love to do, and in the end, I got to stand on the Atlantic after starting on the Pacific 3,500 miles later. But in that interim, it's the journey. What a fantastic journey! I shared in my books. I shared in my energy and my love of life. And you, the same way. You get on that horse and you do the barrel chasing and you do the lassoing and all that goes with that. Hey, that is what turns you on to life, and that's what the excitement is for you. I know that every person listening this morning is getting and has the same kind of energy for some great passion. Painting, acting, swimming, running, bicycling, barrel, roping, you name it. Each of us has it, so pursue it. Go out there and get it in 2016, and just know that there are no comparisons. Compare yourself to no one. Just get out there and kick butt, take names later, and have a big smile on your face because you accomplished what you wanted to accomplish here every day in 2016 and beyond, and you get to live a spectacular life.
You know what we better do at our age?
Yeah.
We better lay down and put a cold rag on our forehead for a few minutes.
I'm with you, my friend.
Hey, man, we didn't get anywhere close to what I was going to talk about this morning, but you know what? It was great. It was fun. It always is. God bless you, my dear friend, and thanks for being on the program again this Tuesday.
All right, God bless you and everyone, and let's have a great 2016. Thank you so much, Zeb.
It's a good thing we don't have certain rules to follow, Oldridge, because we'd break those the first 30 seconds we were anywhere.
And it's good. You got to break some rules to get where you want to go.
God bless you, man. Talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. Whoa, I had a list of things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different things we were going to get into, and we didn't get there today. But we had a fun time. Frosty Woolridge, Golden, Colorado. Really, the incentive is there. Go out and do something with your life. Don't listen to these lousy, wussy liberals, the NRBs, the not real brights. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, nobody ever has. Oh, no, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't act like a winner. Put those people away from you. Step over them, around them, whatever. Get away and achieve. Okay, let's ride. I'm all excited. I'm ready to hit the outside. Let's ride 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the world. Yep, where the fun is sold. They have all their winter clothing marked down. Great deals. You better stop in and check it out. And they've got a lot of motorcycles and motorcycles accessories. Yeah, buddy, they do. And a super friendly staff over there. Let's Ride serving you. And, oh, yeah, snow plows for the four-wheeler. We're not done with the angel dandruff yet, so you better get in there and check it out. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and it is true. It's where the fun is sold. Also want to remind you about our dear friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Yep, you need life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. You'd better make sure that you're protected. You better make sure that you have all the coverage you need. So please get a hold of them today. They're very dedicated and responsive to what you need, and they know all about it. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Highway 24 in Rupert. The number to call, 436-4424. Okay? Make an appointment today. Let's see what else have I got to tell you here real quick before I get my next guest on the air. I think we are in good shape for the shape we're in, so I'm going to turn that page and I'm going to say good morning to Rachel Alexander. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back on the show.
Well, you are always welcome. I found you to be a very interesting and intriguing lady with your viewpoints, and you are the senior editor of The Stream. Explain a little bit to my audience what that is.
The Stream is a new principled conservative website that started in January. We've got 10 principles of individual liberty and freedom that you can read about there. But basically, it brings together conservatives and Christians and people of faith to try to give everybody breaking news from a freedom perspective on everything going on in our country. And the neat thing about us that makes us different is you don't have to encounter all those nasty pop-up ads and videos that never stop playing. The site is pretty much free of that.
You know, Rachel, I'm so glad you're on the program this morning because time-wise, it fit right into what's going to happen tonight. I am quite worried about this State of the Union message tonight by Obama. I think he's going to have a bleeding heart liberal approach to, kind of basically blaming us, the American public, again, and I think lecturing to us again about gun control, or whether it's about immigration, or whether it's about the Trans-Pacific Trade Pact, whatever the case might be. What are your thoughts about what he may do tonight at that State of the Union message?
Yeah, I think gun control is going to be a big theme. I mean, he just announced his, 4 new executive actions he's taking without congressional approval. And I like what Senator Lankford said about it. He thinks that the reason Obama is pushing this so hard is he's trying to say, if you elect Republicans, you're going to have more mass shootings. So, because he knows his other policies have been such failures, he's trying to, scare the American people into thinking, this is the most crucial issue, and guns, are causing all these mass shootings. And I mean, we could get into it, but this latest this San Bernardino shooting, those guns weren't even purchased legally in the state of California.
Right.
So they have mass gun control there, and it's not even working. It wouldn't have stopped this mass shooting.
Well, Rachel, one of the issues that I would like you to address this morning, and I've got a little bit of a shaky phone line with you this morning, so we'll do the best to make sure that we hear everything you say. I want to talk a little bit about the Islamic and ISIS involvement in our everyday lives right now. This administration refuses to say Muslim, refuses to say Islam, refuses to say radical Islam, refuses to really report the way things are going. Why? Why, in your opinion?
And by the way, is this any clearer? I took my earpiece out.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay, that's good to know. I think this administration refuses to do it because they are sympathetic to Islam. And, I've said this from the beginning. It doesn't matter if Obama is really a Muslim or not. The point is he's extremely sympathetic to them, to the point of elevating them over Christianity, the Jewish religion. I think it's part of an agenda where he believes that it undermines the Christian religion. It undermines the Christian values of this country. So he knows if he can push in, all this Sharia law and, giving Muslims special privileges, it's kind of a left-wing working hand in hand with, this fascist, radical Islamics. To me, it's bizarre because you would think that the left wouldn't want this fascism, but it's realized it can use Islam to accomplish its agenda, which is stamping out those of us with Christian conservative values.
This man and this administration, I think, have been, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I've talked about this for the last hour and a half on my program. I think they have done more for the wussification of America. They have absolutely, I think, chopped the manhood out of America, and they've done more to denigrate the absolute ideas of achieving goals and being successful and being all you can be. I absolutely point my finger at this man and this administration, and I condemn them for what they've done to this country and our youth.
Absolutely. It is so infuriating. Here he is, about the most powerful man in the world. He's got the bully pulpit, so people listen to him. And all he does is, go off on traditional American men, masculinity. He wants to make everybody the same, bring everybody down to the same level. And, no one is better than anyone else. It doesn't matter if you work harder, if you're more honest. He's trying to make us all the same. And that's not true. There are some natural laws of ethics out there that, we've fundamentally known since the beginning of time, and you're not going to change that. You're not going to make, some radical Islamist, equal to some good family man who's tried to do the best for his family. But, every single law Obama pushes, it seems to just destroy, the framework of our country, the family as a unit, it's creating emasculating our men.
Yeah.
I walk down the street and these guys look like girls. There's no pride in being a man anymore is what he's trying to do.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Now, let's carry this another step further. I was reading yesterday's USA Today, and all of a sudden, it was in regards to the State of the Union message, and I stumbled on this paragraph, and I backed up, and I reread it again, and I want you to comment on it, and I'm going to read it in its entirety. But in an interview on CNN State of the Union Sunday, Obama said he will seek to fix the electoral process in this country. You'll hear the president talk about making sure that every American has a chance to influence this democracy. Not the select few, not the millionaires, not the billionaires, but every American. And I thought, whoa, wait a minute. We already have the right to go vote. Each and every person, regardless of their origin, their ethnicity, or the color of their skin. What is this man trying to do? Elaborate on that.
Yeah, he never stops coming up with new scary ideas, does he? What he wants to do is get the people, say, 47% on welfare who don't tend to vote, but they would support Democrats to continue the welfare. He just wants to make sure those people vote. And I don't know how he's going to do it, but whether it's, assigning someone to go around to everyone's home, or it's, getting them all on the internet and making sure they do it, or whether it's giving them incentive to do it. That sounds very scary to me, and, that's not what this country is about. We're not a democracy, we're a Republican democracy.
That's right.
In fact, I personally believe that not everybody should vote. If you are ignorant of the issues and you don't pay attention, I don't think you should vote. So if you are just sitting at home on welfare and ignoring what's going on with the country, I don't want you to vote. So, yeah, this is terrifying what he's doing. He's just going to ensure that, Democrats get more votes, and I'm sure it'll involve some kind of corruption because all these people don't really know how to vote except to vote for Democrats, and so it'll be really easy to say, oh, here, I can just mark your ballot for you on all these other issues.
Absolutely. And Rachel, here's something else, too, I heard yesterday, and I want you to comment on it. The dim left, and that's what they are, the wussies that are trying to tell us now there is no such thing as illegal aliens, and they are now going to be called economic refugees. They are fleeing their countries and crossing our borders illegally because they are economically deprived, and they should be considered economic refugees, and we should give them asylum. In other words, those of us here in this country that espouse to a border system and this country's sovereignty, we are wrong, and we should be the welcome mat for everybody to come in and wipe their feet on us. What are your thoughts?
Oh, it's just bizarre, the political correctness level. I mean, I've heard of people getting in trouble for even using the term illegal immigrants. The Associated Press won't use it anymore. And what irritates me is we've taken in more of these illegal immigrants than any other country has, and we can't afford any more. That's the main problem. We're going bankrupt ourselves here in the United States, but we have such a vast, growing, welfare state that with 47% of Americans on some kind of government assistance, we just can't afford to take on any more. And, like it or not, these illegal immigrants coming in, a lot of them just get on welfare. They might not know the language, they might not have any skills, so it's very easy for them to get on welfare, and we can't, frankly, afford it. And, there's also the arguments that say don't want to accept U.S. culture. And, a lot of them are going to vote Democrat, and they're going to, change our manner of living. And, I think it's great that we can be a melting pot. I think if you're going to move here to this country, you got to try to go along with the country and not try to change the country into your former country. I don't think that's right to the people who are already here.
Absolutely. Now, I would be amiss if I didn't have you on the program and discuss another topic and another politician. If I were to say these words, I want you to tell me who I'm referring to. A crook, a liar, not qualified, and a fraud. Oh, gee, who am I referring to?
A lot of Democrats.
How about Hillary Clinton, and how does she maintain a position in the race to be president when she's all of the above?
It's astonishing. I can't tell you how furious I was when they started the Democratic primary debates and the other candidates made it crystal clear they weren't going to challenge her on any of the corruption, the Servergate, the emails. Bernie Sanders even used profanity, saying, I don't care about any damn, emails. Are you kidding me? This woman has committed more felonies, putting American lives in danger than many public officials who have gone to prison for just, being irresponsible with one email. So it's unbelievable. The Democrats are giving her a free pass to the White House, and the only way to stop her is if the criminal investigations of her keep going and keep digging up more. Because right now, she's virtually untouchable. She's a Teflon, woman. And unless we can just keep hammering the criminal stuff over her, she's got a good chance of getting the nomination.
Well, yeah, but on the other side of that coin, though, Rachel, tell me this. The FBI is expanding their investigations, and there's a lot of things that are coming out through the cracks every day. Do you think on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not so good at all and 10 being very good, do you think that there is a chance and an opportunity that she'll be indicted and maybe this time next year, hopefully, she'll be in prison?
No, I don't, and here's why. Because Obama ultimately controls the Department of Justice. He calls the shots. And secondly, the Democrat Party has made it very clear they're not going to let anybody else get the nomination. No chance for Biden at this point anymore. So I think they're just going to give her a slap on the wrist. Obama is ultimately concerned, as the head of the Department of Justice, with making sure that a Democrat wins the White House next time around. So I don't think he's ever going to let the FBI do anything with her. Again, she'll just get like an administrative slap on the wrist, maybe take away her law license like they did to her husband, which was meaningless since he wasn't even practicing law anymore. And that'll be it.
Let me ask you one final thought here this morning, and it's over with the Democrats again. I was listening yesterday, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the head of the DNC, came out and really criticized the Republican Party and said they weren't diverse enough and that the Democrats were the party of diversity. And then I got to thinking about that. Now, you've got Bernie Sanders up at the podium, and you've got O'Malley, and you've got Hillary representing possibly the nomination for the Democrats. And that's supposed to be diversity. Whereas on the other side, with the GOP, you've got a billionaire, you've got a black man, you have a woman, you've got governors and senators. So really, who is representing diversity of which party?
And 2 Cuban Americans.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they say one thing, but they do another. I mean, it's just the same old, you know, when the push comes to shove, all they care about is the power. And if it takes a white male to do it, or in this case, an older white female with Hillary to do it, that's all they care about. They don't, you just look at what they do and not what they say, because they're very dishonest people, and it's all about control and power.
One last thought, though, Rachel, and I'm kind of springing some of these issues on you unannounced, but I would like you to comment. I said earlier this morning that Rand Paul, crying like a little child, I'm going to take my football and go home, because he got put in the second tier of the pre-debate on Thursday night instead of the big debate. He didn't have the numbers to keep him elevated into the top debate. He's mad and says, well, I'm going to pull out of it. I think if he does that, he's showing the American public that he's not worthy of their vote in any scale. It's kind of a crybaby attitude. What are your thoughts?
I don't know about that, because my gut instinct all along has been, we need some of these lower tier candidates to start dropping out so we can start, picking who the real candidate's going to be, instead of all dividing up all of our votes among all these, mostly conservative candidates. So I kind of like the idea of the lower tier candidates dropping out. But on the other hand, things could change. I mean, look at Chris Christie and Carly Fiorina.
Yep, that's right.
Bumping back up to the top.
Yep.
I mean, to me, it's so annoying even having 2 tiers. I think we could all do it in one, debate. Look how long they are, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary to have 2 tiers. So, I mean, I can kind of see Rand Paul's point. I just don't think he's going to make it. And maybe he just sees the writing on the wall and realizes he has no chance to
I think you're 100% right. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to name names, but there are at least 4 right now, that need to pack the suitcase and not let the doorknob hit them in the posterior on the way out.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. We kind of know who's not ever going to recover, or, maybe they never were in the top 3 or so, but, yeah.
But you know what? I really appreciate you, and I'm going to have you on back more often, because you're really a straight shooter. Rachel Alexander, senior editor of The Stream. God bless you, and have a wonderful, wonderful day, and come back soon.
God bless you, too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I like that lady. She knows her politics, and I appreciate her being on the program. Oh, my. We've got the weather forecast right now, and old Wheels over there, he's the quarterback of the team, and he said, come on, Bell, let's get the weather on here. Okay. Weather is brought to you this hour by Mountain Transmissions. How about choked to death there? Holy cow. And they're located at 504 East Main in Burley. The number to call is 678-9110. You know, Rick, nice guy. Met him here a couple of weeks ago. They can fix all makes and models, cars, trucks, RVs, motorhomes, etc. They can do the repairs, the rebuilds. They know transmissions in and out. And they've got a transmission tune-up special, just $89.95. More than 30 years experience fixing your trannies. You better get a hold of them today. Mountain Transmissions at 504 East Main in Burley, 678-9110. Here's Gino with the weather.
Looks like we're going to see some sunshine this afternoon, which will be nice, slightly breezy as well. Winds out of the northeast, right around 10 miles an hour. Expect a high of 34 for today. Tonight, low of 23. Tomorrow, afternoon rain showers are a possibility. High of 38 with an overnight low of 29. Mostly cloudy for Thursday with a high of 34. That's going to carry over for Friday as well, high of 35. And then for Saturday, as we get into the weekend, rain and snow showers are possible with highs in the low to mid-30s. Yesterday's high was 31 and the overnight low was 15. That is your weather for Zebba Durant.
Good job, as always, and brought to you this hour by Mountain Transmissions. Hello, Rick and the crew at 504 East Main in Burley. You stop in, tell them Zeb sent you. Transmission trouble? They can take care of it at 678-9110, the number to call, Mountain Transmissions. How about you giving me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. I would love to visit with you about any topic that we've discussed so far this morning or any other new topic, etc. And we'll see what you have to say. Oh, by the way, very sick and repulsive and disgusting. Middle Eastern refugees. Listen carefully to this. Middle Eastern refugees raping and assaulting over 200 women on New Year's Eve over in Germany. Middle Eastern refugees. And then we here in the United States are not supposed to be worried. We're not supposed to question. Are you kidding me? Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Well, we haven't followed the script here this morning at all, so why don't you just give me a jingle? We'll talk about anything. And while I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, hello, Deanne just walked into the studio and got on the computer. The dog's barking in one room. She's here. Hey, Red's Trading Post. Don't forget 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. And my buddy Ryan and the rest of the crew, they have the people at Red's Trading Post. They really know guns. Yep, they know guns. They know all about Browning, Beretta, Weatherby, Ruger, Benelli, Smith & Wesson, Winchester, and they can help you. They've been in the historic Old Town location since 1936, and they know them. By the way, something else they've got there for the reloaders, they've got that hard-to-find powder for the reloads right there at Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. You stop in and see them today. All right, now it's your turn. Come on, calls welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle. The point I was going to make with Rachel just a few moments ago, and we were running out of time, was on Rand Paul. You know, he basically thought that he was better than the rules, better than the regulations, and when he got dropped down to the second tier, the pre-debate, he didn't want to play by the rules. He was hunky-dory with other people being on the pre-debate, but when he got knocked down because of a lack of poll numbers, that wasn't good enough for him. Why, our campaign deserves to be in the big debate with the big boys. And then he gets mad and says, well, I'm going to take my football and go home. I honestly believe that if he doesn't show up for the debate on Thursday night, Rand Paul is history. How can you trust or even think about voting for someone that is that spoiled and that kind of an egomaniac to where if he agreed to the rules when they started the debate system, and then all of a sudden, when he gets dropped down to the second tier, he's above the rules? I don't want that kind of a guy or lady running for the presidency. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. I would love to hear from you over any subject you want to talk about. I have a little public service announcement I need to get on here, and then I would really appreciate your calls. The fire that took away the home for the Colemans, Jim Coleman family, well, the American Legion Post 82 and American Legion Auxiliary Unit 82 in Eden, they're going to be hosting a spaghetti dinner fundraiser. And this is going to be on January 23rd from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Snug Bar and Grill in Eden. And the cost is $10 with all the money. 100% of the proceeds going to the Colemans. And there's also going to be a silent auction and live music starting at 7 p.m. with Gina Jones and all kinds of good things. So please help these people out. The Coleman family lost their house in that fire, lost virtually everything. And they need clothing and they need furniture, and of course they need money. And a very nice man, Gene Brown, is kind of heading things up, and his number to call 731-9018. And you can also find out what the family needs as they update it every day on the City of Hazleton Facebook page. So there you go. All right, your turn. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What? Nobody has any complaints? What? Nobody has a subject to talk about this morning? Please give me a call. I would love to hear from you. Wheels, what's going on with our phone lines over there? You realize that you're up to $6.50 right now?
I do.
Almost a meal that you're going to buy me at Denny's.
I'd love to. You pay for my ticket, so why not?
I appreciate you. You're a good man. Good young man.
I appreciate you too, sir.
You know something? You kind of fall right into our conversation that I was having with Frosty and earlier this morning. And that's goals and incentive and trying harder to do with the life that God gave you. And it's true, isn't it? If you sit back and keep crying, oh, woe is me, you'll never amount to anything. But you got to get up off your fanny and go do something.
Well, and that's true. And, I kind of put into perspective of, there's somebody out there that has it a lot worse than I do.
Bingo.
And, when there's somebody out there that, is either going through chemo or, they're going through something, pretty devastating like that, I don't have nothing to worry about. Why should I, sit around and feel sorry for myself when, there's people out there that are having to go through a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
My motto is you got to stay humble, especially nowadays.
Stay humble, but always keep trying.
Yes.
There you go. All right. Hey,
said that any better.
Thank you, my dear young friend. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Just kind of a little reminder. Tomorrow, we're going to have my dear friend Dave Bigo, and he just wrote another great piece on his blog about the unions and how devastatingly dangerous they are. And then also tomorrow, and I forgot that it's tomorrow. I thought it was a week later, but it is tomorrow on the 13th. We're going to have the monthly Idaho Fish and Game Report with Kelton Hatch. And I say that with some reservation because I don't know for sure if he remembered. I'm going to call him and let him know. We're going to take a little break for a few minutes and get ready. Oh, we have a quick call. Quick call. Go ahead, caller. I got a minute left. Go ahead.
Okay, Zeb, I'm going to stroke your ego now. A man that got the disease that you had, polio, and it crippled him, you never gave up. You never gave up trying to be better. You went through surgery after surgery. I know you went through a lot of pain, but you never gave up, and that's what this country needs more of, is people that will not give up.
I appreciate that, and thank you so much for those kind words. God bless you, my dear friend. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And I give all the credit to my mom and dad. They would not let me give up. God bless them. I know they're in heaven right now looking down. We're going to take a little break, and don't forget you've been listening to Zeb at the Ranch. Make sure you're hearing everything. Contact Mount Harrison Audiology for a hearing screening. Call them at 312-0957. Dr. History coming up next half hour. Don't go away. And away we go, hour number 3. Welcome back, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and all 7 locations serving you. Along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service, call 734-6969. We're going to have our guests momentarily, but first and foremost, I want to remind you about the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Today, hot brown sandwich served with choice of side, veggies, and super salad. They always have great specials along with all the fantastic menu choices. Great people serving you at the Chadwick Sports Grill. Stop in today, 139 West Main in Burley. Really nice people. And when we talk about nice people, we've got to remind everybody, too, about 2 sponsors of School Days in Cassia County on Thursdays at 10:10. A Child's World at 1308 Overland, and don't forget they got a fantastic sale going on right now, 40 to 50% off winter items, clothes, hats, coats, everything at A Child's World in Burley. Along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center, you can save hundreds of dollars on your outpatient surgeries, cataract and eye surgery, colonoscopies. Just call them, please, at 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you School Days in Cassia County. Right now, it is time for Dr. History, brought to you by Minnecasia Sales at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. And the relief pitcher filling in for today, towing the rubber on the mound, ready to throw us fastballs, the great Gary Shoresman. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fabulous. Thanks for asking.
I bet you. You know what? I hate that when certain sports people say that.
Me too. They make $30 million and don't know how to say ass.
Amen. I agree with you. How you been?
Good.
And
a few ups and downs. We're still working on the book for the 98th annual Old Settlers Dinner coming up in September.
Good for you.
So
good for you. Do you
takes a while.
I got to ask you this real quick. Do you have a regimented time of the day that you sit down and turn off the phones and just write and ignore everything else?
Depends on how I feel.
Oh, okay. I need to be more regimented.
I have a few mood swings. You know, being diabetic, you have to, it affects your mind.
Yeah.
And motivation and enthusiasm.
Can I use my mind if I'm not diabetic as an excuse?
Probably. Otherwise, you're just plain less lazy and healthy and taking advantage of your health. But I found one thing that if my blood sugar gets out of whack, I'm not motivated. I cannot sit down and concentrate. So I have to really, really be careful.
The people that I'm working with on my book, they told me, Zeb, you got to take an hour a day at least and just sit down and regulate yourself. And then the phone rings. Then somebody stops by or something this, something that, and I always jump off
track. You have to eliminate that.
Yeah, I know it. It's hard.
You have to figure out how to figure that. So if my phone rings, I just let it ring.
There you go.
If the door knocks, I don't answer it.
Yeah. Well, I wish I could be that way. Okay, now you in the newscast were telling me about our subject matter for today on Dr. History. We're going to be talking about a former governor in the state of Idaho, Mr. James Hawley, and he sounds like a very interesting personality. Go ahead.
Well, they called him one of the most colorful characters of the West, and he happened to be the 9th governor of the state of Idaho, elected in 1910. But he was born in January of 1847 in Dubuque, Iowa. He was of Irish, Dutch, and English ancestry. When he was 2 years old, his mother died. His grief-stricken father turned him and his sisters over to his mother's grandparents and family to raise. Their name was Carr. The grandparents of his grandparents had left a great deal of money, so the young girls were taken care of, and it never mentions as to whether he got any of that or went, because he never did seem to have a lot of money to go somewhere, but he did go a lot of places.
Yeah.
Anyway, In 1851, now when he's, 5 years old, his uncle James Carr also got the California fever and settled his affairs and moved to California for a couple of years and then returned back to Dubuque in 1861, and that's the year then that James Holly graduates from high school.
Oh, really?
And he was the youngest in his class. But his father had encouraged him to please go become a law school, but he wanted to join the Civil War. So he sneaks off, stows away in a troop boat with a departing Union soldiers, was found out and was rejected because he was too young.
How old was he at this time?
47, 57, 13.
Oh, my
14.
Goodness sakes, a wee bit of a lad.
Oh, yeah, and he's already going at this, you know. So, anyway, on the day of the Battle of Bull Run, July 21st, 1861, he and his uncle depart. They go to San Francisco, but then they departed on a steamer for Panama. And once landing in Panama, they enjoyed a very welcome and a very good meat stew. You know, they were out scouting out areas and gold and mining ventures and this and that. And they enjoyed the meal thoroughly until James saw what he thought was a baby's hand in the bottom of that stew as he got down.
Are you kidding me?
But no, I'm serious. It turned out to be the head of the monkey, which the stew is made of.
Well, you have really solidified my fact that I'm on a diet and not going to eat lunch.
Good. Oh, there you go.
Thank you.
Now, when they returned to San Francisco, Uncle James and a friend named Bradford had some placer mines up in Yuba City.
I don't think I'm ever going to get better from that.
Well, they call him colorful, so he had some experiences.
Oh, my.
And ironically, a lot of the stuff I'm talking about today is written out of my sources came from, there's a volume of Idaho history books, volumes 1 through 12, 1920, and they don't write any of this out. It's unsubstantiated because they don't want it. They have to make it a little more pure and clear.
I see.
But A Sagebrush Lawyer by McLean in 1954 tells a lot of these stories. So through his research. Anyway, and James Holly would have told it.
Yeah.
You know, he wouldn't have had nothing to hide, but it's the historians that want to clean everything up. I had a cousin once when we were doing our family genealogy. I had written a story on my grandparents, Grandma and Grandpa. But she really was opposed to that because she said they were grandfather and grandmother.
I see.
And we never called them once in our entire lives. It was Grandpa and Grandma.
You know what you're telling me, and you've been on this program many times in the past, filling in for Ken, but the older families from generations before, they seem to be very loose-knit as far as they didn't really cling to each other, and like James Holly going off on his own and the sisters. I mean, there really wasn't that camaraderie and fellowship of the families like we see in our generation.
Yeah. Ironically though, they did, my great-grandparents, when they came, there was 4 brothers and a sister. Now, one of the youngest shoresman boys, he had 13 kids. They were all married, and in 1901 goes to Odessa, Washington, and buys 6 sections of land for $2,000 and gives each one of them a half section of land, and they all stayed together.
Really?
And then another one came to Quincy, Washington in 1903, did the same thing, and they still own a lot of that land.
Really?
But they're taking advantage of the American dream by having it all out of production.
Bingo. And you know, they were willing to take a risk and try to better themselves.
Grandpa wouldn't have liked it, but these younger kids, it's a piece of cake for them.
But I'm going to do a commercial break, and let's come back and tell a little bit about James Holly. What an interesting young man that finally became governor of our state. Don't forget Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley with Zach and the whole crew. They're open from 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, right across the street from the airport, and they've got all your lumber packages. Maybe you're going to be doing some remodeling. Maybe you need some new windows, energy-efficient windows. Well, they've got them with the Western windows. They've got all the carpet. They've got everything there for you. So please stop in and see them today. Wonderful people serving you at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Number to call, 878-2091. Sponsoring Dr. History. Gary, go ahead.
Well, once the uncle and a friend decided to leave him up into, they want to try their luck at the Salmon River country. Well, they didn't want to take him with them for whatever reasons. I guess he's too young. But anyway, they decided to leave him there, and he wasn't about to have that. So he enlists the friend of his uncle to loan him $100, but he also wanted him to come with him. And so they took a stern-wheeler, a steamer to Portland, and then a stern-wheeler up to the Dalles, and then they went on foot carrying a small sack. They had a rising flour, a side of bacon, coffee, sugar, and a coffee pot. And the trip took 10 days overland from the Dalles to Walla Walla.
Wow.
And in 1862, at the age of 15, he came to Florence, Idaho, and mined until 1871.
Oh, my goodness.
So anyway, when he gets there, he finds that his uncle had gone on to Florence, so they left in the morning, packs on their backs, and headed for Lewiston, which took them 4 days. They reached the western shore of the Snake River at Lewiston and found that it cost $1 a head to be rowed across the river. But there was a saddle train waiting to swim the river, so they got a free trip by swimming with them and each took a horse and holding the reins and guiding them across. So they weren't so dumb. They had a way about thinking and a way of getting what they wanted, and not afraid to enlist their services. So then they bought Indian ponies for the 3-day trip to Florence, but found the trail wasn't. Now, why they talked about the Indian ponies was because if you had any money at all, you rode a horse.
Yeah.
But further on down the line, you went with a mule, and then the final thing, if you were next to poverty, you bought an Indian pony. But anyway, they got there, the trail was closed, so they sold the ponies and continued on foot. Now, Florence at one time was one of the biggest gold discoveries, but it wasn't sustainable everywhere. There was in different pockets and areas. Now, in the spring of 1864, he located some valuable placer mines that actually made about $100 a day in gold. During the spring, he employed some miners to work his claims for him and became agent for the Boise County News, the Idaho City World, taking and soliciting subscriptions, distributing the papers, and making collections at the rate of $1 a copy. Now, that's pretty ingenious. Now, we see what this boy has done. He's 15, 16 years old. And he's
15 and 16.
Is smart, using his head, not afraid of the world. But he's one of those guys that has an inborn talent, but he never took to drinking. He never took to womanizing, and he never shot or killed anybody or went on a drunken brawl. So he had another sense of class about himself.
Yeah, really.
And anyway, that employment was fortunate for him because that acquainted him with the editor by the name of Milton Kelly, who was a lawyer by training already. Mm-hmm. And he encouraged Hawley to take up the study of law, and he furnished him with a set of Blackstone and Kent's commentaries to begin his studies.
Wow.
So that's pretty, and he did.
And he was about what age?
Well, let's see, that's 1865, so he's 47, 57,
wow.
He's 20.
Yeah, roughly 19 or 20. 18. 18, yeah.
And he completed his course then in 1867. Well, something happens there, and they don't say exactly what it was. Some fellow adventurers eluded the police or whoever else was after them, but embarked on a ship bound for China, where the boys joined the Taiping Revolutionary Army.
Uh-oh.
They borrowed a gunboat from the Chinese government.
Borrowed?
Yeah, that's what they said. But soon were captured, given a speedy Chinese trial, and sentenced to be beheaded.
Woo.
One of the boys was an English subject and induced the English consul to intervene on their behalf, and they were released, completely broke and entirely discredited so far as the Chinese army authorities were concerned. Anyway, Hawley succeeds in convincing the captain of a clipper ship back to San Francisco to take him back. He landed back home in the port fall of 1868 and as the second mate of the ship. Now, give me a break. Somewhere along the line, he ingratiated himself from being poor, broke, begging a ride, and then he climbs the ladder in the hierarchy of the ship.
Holy cow. You know, one question I want to go back to. You said at one juncture he was making about $100 a day with his gold venture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happened to the savings and or anything stowed away in the bank? Was that all gone?
He must have used it all the way to San Francisco to do his studies or something like that. But nevertheless, he still had them because he hired people to do it for him. So he still had them. Anyway, now he's 20 years old.
Okay.
And during 1860, he continued his mining explorations and workings, discovering 2 very rich quartz claims, which he called the Ebenezer and the Iowa. And his first 3 sacks yield $1,000 a sack.
Wow.
Now, that's a lot of money in 1860.
You better believe it.
So then he has now, a lot of people know him in the area, and he's now 1863, Idaho becomes a territory.
Right.
And so he is elected as a member of the lower House of Representatives in 1870.
Wow,
so
and he's probably about 30 years old right
climbs the ladder right then and there. Admitted to the bar on February 14th, 1871.
Wow.
And then he opened his own little shingle house, Holly and Holly, to be a lawyer. And then he's elected as a member of the upper house of the legislature in 1874. And then he gets married in 1875. He ends up with having 8 children, of which only 6 survived.
Oh, my.
But those young kids, they all were prosperous, became lawyers. We were a very close family in Boise, and all very much community-oriented. And the name is quite famous.
Now, there is a lady that I know that works for Channel 7 Television, and her name is Carolyn Holly. And I wonder if she's not a relative of this James Holly.
Could be.
Yeah.
Now at 30, he is a county commissioner from 1876 to 1878. Now, district attorney, he was a district attorney from the 2nd Judicial District from 78 to 1882. So he's well liked by everybody, otherwise he wouldn't have been brought into the and work and get the practice. Then he practiced his law at Haley from 1884 to 1886.
Was that his downfall going over there?
No, not at all. But it does bring up another story because, as I've talked later, where I live is called Camp Holly Lake.
Right.
And 1879. Now, how it goes back to his name in the 1909 pages of Time of the Minidoka Rupert Pioneer Record. It says that a man by the name of Sevier from south of the river by Albion, and I've got their story, was looking for his cattle who had crossed the river in the winter and found them at Camp Holly Lake, just north of the Rupert town site.
Oh.
But it also told us that it wasn't Cap, it was Camp, and it was Holly, not Holy. So it was named after him. And then east of Minidoka is a railroad marker that's called Holly. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So out towards Wapai in that area.
Okay.
But,
time for a drink of water. I know my voice having trouble too. Go ahead.
Anyway, one of the
we got about 5 minutes left.
Okay. Oh, all right. He was the lawyer for Diamond Field Jack.
Really?
And he is the one that got Diamond Field Jack off on a technicality of habeas corpus.
Okay.
And anyway, it was the original conviction was on purely circumstantial evidence, based primarily on previous threats made against sheepmen. So Holly comes in and disputes all of that kind of good stuff and works it around, and he wins a reprieve. Now, he had 3 copies made, and one of his friends was Will Pickett, who is told to have arrived with the reprieve first. Now, we never heard of 3. I've always heard of the Sears, Willis Sears being the one that delivered it from Minidoka to whatever. But Holly had these guys take different routes, one the high road, low road, and middle road to get here, so someone with a sheepman's interest in it wouldn't sabotage. So one of all 3 got there, but he recovered his bases. Now, he's elected to mayor in 1902, becomes the governor of Idaho in 1910 to 1911 and 13, And he was a Democrat. He won by 40,856 votes. Governor Brady, Republican, had 39,961. And there was a Motley, who was a socialist candidate, with 5,000 votes.
I'll be.
Now, Lieutenant Governor Lou Sweetser is in the picture at this time. Now, he's from the Sweetser boroughs, the gold mining bunch, and the Raft River Cattle Company. Mm-hmm. So he works his way up to be lieutenant governor. So we've got these guys that come out of nowhere and then elevate to the top in their state.
Right.
So it's all pretty interesting there. They said I read this more than once, is his qualifications as a lawyer in which he excelled was his skill both in assembling and presenting evidence in convincing manner and then explaining it to the jury.
And he really didn't have the outstanding educational tools of grammar and math and everything else. He basically was self-taught, wasn't he?
Yeah, went right on by. But
yeah.
he had a personality that people wanted to help. They liked him. Older people liked him.
Yeah.
So when they offered him something, he took it. But they wouldn't have offered it to him if they hadn't seen some potential.
Absolutely.
And so here is a young kid that, in between all these little side trips, little things that could have done him in, he managed. There was bigger and better things for him.
Let me ask you this. We've only got about 2 minutes left here, but of all the governors, did they all, in the early days of the state of Idaho, did they all have, in your opinion, some pretty interesting stories to arrive where they did?
Well, they would have had to. One of the first governors was elected to, or was invited to go to Lincoln's inaugural with him the night he was shot, but they couldn't do. They declined because they had another engagement. But it was also Lincoln and this first governor who was instrumental in getting the boundary set as to how it went. One time we talked about from Walla Walla straight across to Idaho was the original boundary, but they didn't like that. They wanted it to be something else, and then it gets to be that. So each one, in those tough, rough days, it was all new. And while a majority of people were scrambling and digging and hungry and losing their money and making some and whatever, and their families are not with them, there's a certain few guys who've sifted through everything and floated, so to speak, to the top.
It's really interesting when you talk about this James Hawley, but like I said a moment ago, I'll bet you could do a segment on almost every governor that we've had as a very interesting twist as to how they became governor.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Little did we know that here in after 2000 that I would make the connection with McLean's book, A Sagebrush Lawyer, and Hawley being named after the lake where I live, dry lake bed after him. So then it brings up to a whole other thing. Well, how did he get here and what was he doing?
Right.
And then also they only put names on railroad sidings of people that were respected or honored in one way or another. But there's 1,000 stories to tell, and this is just a brief little thing.
1,000 stories in the naked city. There you go. Gary Shoresman filling in for Dr. History today and always does a great job. Gary, God bless you and thanks for coming by.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely
thanks
outstanding. And I appreciate the knowledge on one of our governors, James Hawley. Mm-hmm. Don't forget, brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Zach and the rest of the crew serving you from 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. You stop in for your needs of lumber, windows, etc. at Minnecasia Sales. We're going to send it back over to our main studios right now. I'll be back in 3 minutes. Don't you go away.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Every time I have Gary Shoresman on the radio with me, I always learn something. He's very devoted to history, and interesting story about James Hawley, one of our governors from the past, and really enjoyed that this morning. Thank you very much for filling in for Dr. History this morning, our dear friend Gary Shoresman. Thank you very much. We are in the last half hour of our program for this morning, and we've got another guest ready and waiting to go, and we say good morning to Rochelle Peterson. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. morning, Zeb. I'm well. Glad to be with you today.
Well, I always feel a little bit inhibited when I have you on the program because you're with the National Association of Scholars, and I sometimes question if I'm worthy of having you on the air.
Oh, absolutely, Zeb. The National Association of Scholars is a membership of professors and students, but also concerned citizens across the nation who think what's happening in higher education right now is dangerous and troubling.
You know, Rochelle, we've got a little breakup on the phone this morning, and I wonder, is it a cell phone that we're calling right now?
I'm on a landline.
Oh, and it's just a little bit shaky. We'll do the best we can, and I hope it'll clear up a little. Pardon me?
Do you want me to try to call in again?
Yeah, let's try to break the connection. I'll do a couple of commercials and a weather forecast quickly. If we could call you, maybe Wheels could call you, my engineer, and we'll try another line. Thank you so much for your patience. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Lovely lady, and we're going to get her on the air here in just a moment, of the National Association of Scholars, Rochelle Peterson. And while we're waiting for her to call back in, I'm going to ask Wheels. I think we'll go ahead with the weather. And what I will do at this time is tell everybody about Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. I'll tell you what, when you take your meat in there to be wrapped and packaged and cut, don't worry about it. You're going to get the meat you took in there right back in your freezer. They are excellent at what they do. Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Please call them at 324-7657. I know you're busy, Wheels, but if you would, can we have Gina with the weather?
Looks like we're going to see some sunshine this afternoon, which will be nice, slightly breezy as well. Winds out of the northeast, right around 10 miles an hour. Expect a high of 34 for today. Tonight, low of 23. Tomorrow, afternoon rain showers are a possibility. High of 38 with an overnight low of 29. Mostly cloudy for Thursday with a high of 34. That's going to carry over for Friday as well, high of 35. And then for Saturday, as we get into the weekend, rain and snow showers are possible with highs in the low to mid-30s. Yesterday's high was 31, and the overnight low was 15. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, Gina. And again, brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew in Jerome, and changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Let's see, Wheels, do we have that lovely lady back on the phone with us?
We do, sir.
Thank you very much, Wheels. I appreciate it. Rochelle, I'm sorry for that, and thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. I'm having a little trouble hearing you now, Zeb, but we'll see if this works.
All right, we'll see if it works. Now, let me ask you this. The last time you were on the program with me, we were talking about various campuses, college students, etc., that were really starting and formulating a hate campaign against oil companies and the use of fossil fuels. Bring us up to speed as to what's happening. It's getting worse, isn't it?
Well, this student activist group with the fossil fuel divestment movement has tried to make social change be the primary goal of investments. Rather than getting a good return on your investment financially, they want to see a social return on investments at the college campus, and now the movement is going public. The campus activists' pet causes have been injected into the mainstream politics. And to give just one example of this, earlier, just last week, the governor of Vermont, Peter Shumlin, in his State of the State address, asked that the Vermont legislature give him a bill to divest all Vermont public pensions from ExxonMobil on the grounds that ExxonMobil was complicit in causing climate change. This is exactly what the student activists across the nation have been asking for, and now it's being advocated by a state governor asking the state legislature to make a law enforcing exactly what student activists are asking for. So the students are being rewarded publicly for their illiberal activism, and it's really troubling to see the spread of these illiberal movements through the mainstream politics.
Rochelle, I'm really concerned. At first blush, when I started hearing about these stories on college campuses, I kind of pushed them aside, and I thought, well, it won't take any traction. But now, what you're talking about with Governor Jerry Brown in California and the Vermont governor, etc., it seems like they're trying to criminalize and demonize anybody that's in the fossil fuel business, and I'm really afraid as to where this is going to go. Where is this going to go in your estimation if it's not stopped?
I think it's going to go through all the states one by one. So I just mentioned Vermont. You just brought up Jerry Brown, the governor of California, who this summer signed a law brought to him by the California legislature mandating that 2 public employee pension funds that represent 2.4 million retirees must divest of coal investments. These are the 2 largest pension funds in the country, collectively worth $500 billion. And the governor has just signed a law requiring them to base their financial investments on social causes that have been dictated by students. There are more examples of this going on. Just in October, the U.S. Labor Department issued a guidance that made it easier for public pension funds to let in so-called socially responsible funds. Socially responsible investment funds are funds that don't invest based on what companies will give the best financial return, but what a judge will give the best social return. And of course, the definition of social return is politically skewed. So this is a huge change that nationwide from the federal government, from the Labor Department, from the states, from California and Vermont. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has asked for a similar bill to be brought to him by the New York Assembly. All across the nation, at every level of government, the demands that students have been making on campuses have been taken up seriously and have, in some cases, even been enacted into law. That will only continue unless this movement is stopped by people on the ground in individual states resisting and other students and professors and parents at the college campuses as well.
You know, Rochelle, bear with me on this. Caller, stand by. Just a minute. I'll get you on the air. I want to make this statement, and Rochelle, please understand where I'm coming from. I absolutely think this is a critical time in America to where the millennials and the students that are going to school on our tax dollars and our funding in many, many cases have got to wake up and understand really what makes America tick and what makes America great. These kids, not even dry behind the ears, snot-nosed kids, are telling us how to live in a regressive form, and I'm very, very animated about this to the point of anger. What are your thoughts? Am I right or wrong?
I think you're right on a lot of that, Zeb. This is a generation of students who have been told that it's their job to change the world, and so they're looking about for some way to change the world, and the way that they've set their mind on is very politically slanted. It is dogmatic. It is not open to question, not open to debate. And college is supposed to be a place where you can debate out what is the best course of action. You can sift fact from fiction, truth from falsehood, and based on what you find out in your research and study, you can determine what is the wise course of action. And you can have some recommendations about what public policy should be. But this is a movement that has disdained that debate from the beginning, a movement that has been discontent to search for the truth and has said that the time for debate is over, the time for questioning is over, and it's time for action. Well, if you've already determined that action is what is required, then you've made it pretty clear that you haven't been carefully vetting what kind of action you're going to take. So this is a movement that is headlong, bringing the nation towards poorly researched, poorly defined policy that would harm our energy future and is teaching students that activism is the appropriate way to go without the scholar's disposition.
I agree with you 100%. Caller, go ahead with your comments, please, quickly.
Yes, you guys just said everything I was going to say. They just have, it seems like they have absolutely no idea just what kind of a damage they're going to do to the very future that they expect. They somehow think for some reason that this golden calf, is going to live forever. And so I just don't understand it. They're so illogically and uninformed, and so they're so headstrong with their ideological insane. It's insanity. I'll hang up.
Go ahead, if you would, Rochelle, please.
Young people are not known for looking ahead to the future. The irony is that this movement thinks it is looking ahead towards the future. It's trying to save the future from climate change and from the reign of big fossil fuel companies. But I think you're right that students haven't always done the math and run the economic models to fairly look at what the future will hold.
Rochelle, I'm going to add this to the fray, and I want you to respond to this. I lay the blame on the Jerry Browns. I lay the blame on the governors like Peter Shumlin. I lay the blame at their feet because they are nothing more than utilizing youth and mindless thought from the youth, and they're just doing it to garner more votes for the Democratic Liberal Party. That's my honest belief. Am I wrong?
There's certainly a lot of blame to go around, Seb. I think Jerry Brown and the governor of Vermont are definitely guilty in this, but I wouldn't let the rest of the country off so easily. I think the professors are to blame for not teaching their students to think carefully and to debate both sides of the issue. I think in some cases parents are to blame. Students who go off to college are very easily being converted into political activists. Parents should be mindful about where their students are going to college and should train students who are able to resist political ideologies. And I'd also cast some blame on local governments as well, not just the governors, but these are legislators that are bringing the bills into California governor and Vermont governor. And voters should take this seriously and should vote knowledgeably and take their responsibility to vote seriously as well.
Rochelle, let me ask you this question. When I was in college, which was a long time ago, they still circled the wagons at night, but I was there as a student. I was there to learn. I was there to grasp everything that my professors would give me, and I would discern this from that and try to formulate different opinions, etc. But now the students today are no longer, in my opinion, called students. They're basically going to school for political activism. There is a big difference, a big divide right there, and I personally think it's being a waste of a college education. Am I wrong?
Well, back in the day, there used to be finishing schools where you could learn how to have the proper etiquette and behave properly in society. Today's colleges are pretty much political finishing schools. Many of them are training students in what are the socially acceptable political views to adopt, what are the socially rewarded activist causes to become active in, and students are being rewarded for this. They're, in many cases, being paid for their activism by people such as Tom Steyer, and they're being rewarded with class credit from professors who encourage them in their political activism.
Now, has it gone so far that it can't be turned around? Has it gone so far down the railroad track that we can't stop the train? Where are we? This is really scary, what you're talking about.
Every movement has momentum. This illiberal divestment movement has a lot of momentum behind it, and the American public should take it seriously. They should take it seriously when they consider where to send their children to college. They should take it seriously when they're voting. And when they are talking with their local governing officials, I think it will take a lot of effort to restore a respect for debate and scholarship on college campuses. I do think there are some bright spots, though, and I think that Heartland America is full of a silent majority of people who think what's happening right now is silly and ridiculous. And if they speak up and make their voice heard, I think that would go a long ways towards curbing this.
Let me add something to what you just said, though, Rochelle. You said it's time to take this very seriously, but I wonder, with a slanted left-wing media, if the bulk of Americans even know or have even heard of this problem so that they can stand up and speak out against it. I mean, the media is very left-wing, and I'm sure they're not going to say stories on their newscast that are going to get people involved.
The media is in love with the fossil fuel divestment movement. They love the idea that social change should be the purpose of financial investments, and they pretty much turn a blind eye to the politically slanted definition of what social change means. The New York Times itself has endorsed the fossil fuel divestment movement. The Guardian, a big newspaper in the UK, has endorsed the fossil fuel divestment movement. Many other newspapers have endorsed the local fossil fuel divestment movement at their local college and their hometown university. So a lot of the information out there is fawning towards this movement. They haven't faced stiff criticism. So I think it speaks of the need for the American public to be educated. America is a nation that was founded on self-educated pioneers, self-educated pilgrims who came here and taught themselves and published their own newspapers, read vigorously, and kept up with the news and formed educated opinions about what was happening. And that's exactly what America needs to be. That's exactly what we need to return to.
I agree with everything you said this morning, but I am really, really concerned about these schools, these students, and these governors, because they're out on a vendetta. They're out on a killing pattern against fossil fuels and the use of fossil fuels. But at the same time, they're denigrating fossil fuels and Exxon or any other company, Shell, etc. They're not coming up with any concrete answers as to how overnight they can replace the energy that this country needs to stay a free society. They're not coming up with any answers, are they?
The panacea that they love to quote is the need for more solar panels and more windmills. Of course, those sources of energy provide only a fraction of a percentage of the total energy consumption of the nation, and they're also intermittent and unreliable. The wind doesn't always blow, the sun doesn't always shine, and the beauty of fossil fuels for our economy right now is that they're reliable and transportable, and you can draw on them exactly when you need them. I'm not opposed at all to the development of other forms of energy. Nuclear energy seems to have a lot of promise, and other forms of alternative energy could develop and could become competitive. But artificially cutting short the period of development and just determining that the age of fossil fuels has come to the end and the age of renewable energy is here would be devastating for the American economy. It would be devastating for the average American family whose electric bills would radically increase overnight. And it would represent a coup for the illiberalism in higher education that disdains the period of competition and of debate, and that is troubling as well.
I really want you to come back in the not-too-distant future and give us an update on this story, because I'm going to file that as one of my important stories to follow up on. I am worried about this. Rochelle Peterson, thank you so much for being on the program again. Thank you for your patience on changing phone lines. God bless you, and please come back.
Thank you, Zeb.
Take care. Thank you so much. Very, very nice lady. And Rochelle Peterson, of course, with the National Association of Scholars. And there are huge problems with our millennials, our young people going to school today. They think they know everything, and they know nothing. They haven't dipped their toe into the water of the world. They don't know how deep the water is. And they're sitting around with their little groups on the steps at various university campuses all across this country saying, "We're down with energy, down with oil, we've got to change this." They haven't got a clue that if they stopped everything the way they want, we'd all be living in a cave tomorrow morning, burning buffalo dung, trying to keep warm. I personally am sick and tired of the revolting thought that these millennials that have never had a job, never been responsible, don't know what it is to try to put food on the table, don't know what it is to try to get up and go to work in the morning, hold a job, buy shoes for the kids, and they're sitting there telling us, "Down with energy." It's not only repulsive, it's idiotic that we allow them to have that kind of a thought without a major rebuttal, and especially revolting to me that governors, or if they want to call themselves governors, like California Governor Jerry Brown and that nincompoop over in Vermont, Peter Shumlin, would be advancing this kind of thought and activism when these kids don't know squat. It ought to make all of us just not only mad, but repulsed by the leadership, so-called, at colleges and universities. Oh, man, I promised myself I wasn't going to get mad again today, and I blew it. Oh, dear. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. I'll give you the names of the locations right now, first and foremost. Lane and Rupert. Hello, Lane. Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin. Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. He's the Seahawk fan, you know. Anyway, all 7 locations really serving you with the best in traction tires, all the different tread designs, the snow chains, the studded tires, everything, and they've got great, great tires at prices you can't afford to pass up, like the Eclipse tire, all-season reliability, 70,000-mile warranty. Oh, you get in there and check that out, along with the best in brake service, front-end alignments, batteries. In the cold weather, make sure you've got a really good battery, and they have the best. Stop in again at all 7 locations serving you. The name, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, they serve you. Stop in and see some nice people today. All right, tomorrow on the program, my good buddy Dave Bego will be here. And we're looking forward to him from Indianapolis, Indiana. And then we're going to have, I think we've got a program regarding the endangered listing of the gray wolf down in California. And Californians are really upset about this, as well they should be. We're going to have a gentleman on from the Pacific Legal Foundation tomorrow to talk about that. Then it will be our monthly meeting with Kelton Hatch and the Idaho Fish and Game, and that'll be on from 10:06 to 11, and all your calls will be welcome tomorrow on Wednesday the 13th. Quick reminder one more time that there is going to be a benefit dinner. Oh, Zeb, what did you do with the paper? Here it is, benefit dinner for the Coleman family over at the Snug Bar and Grill in Eden on January 23rd. Cost is $10. All the money goes to help the Coleman family that lost everything in their fire. Caller, I've got exactly 40 seconds. Go ahead real fast.
Yes, remember the spotted owl in Oregon? Now, in Oregon, we've got the spotted frog. And have you done any research on that? Probably no, I don't know.
I know a little bit about the story, but we're going to be having a segment on that next week. And call me first hour tomorrow. We'll talk about that a little bit more. How's that?
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. Oregon is no place to live, it seems. Okay, see ya.
Gee, I wonder, Randy, are you there yet?
Yeah.
I wonder when they'll have endangered people so you and I are protected.
I know. I don't know, Zeb. I guess we're the enemy to the world, to the environment.
We'll see. We will see.
Otherwise.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning on the program. Thank you. God bless everybody, and thank you for tuning in. Zeb at the Ranch. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06 and ride the horse for 3 hours to 11 o'clock. Thank you very much. The way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless. See you tomorrow morning.